Hello, everybody. This is ZDS here, and I know I'm about a day and a half late to the party here, but I wanted to go ahead and kind of let Pokemon Home simmer for a little bit. As of yesterday, February 12th, Pokemon Home has been released. Actually, I can't remember if it was the 12th or the 11th now, but either way, um, we now have access to Pokemon Home. And there are a number of features. I will be going over some small things. I'm not going to go into huge details over stuff. This video is primarily going to be about my opinion of the usage of the Home app as of right now. I will also be talking a bit about the mobile version, since there are a few things of note in the mobile version that you can use as well. Now, first thing I'm going to talk about before we go any further is that Pokemon Home, although it is technically a free application, has a premium membership plan that is $2.99 for 1 month, $4.99 for 3 months, or $16.99 for 12 months, or $15.99. So altogether, it's about $16-$20, depends on how month plan you go for, per year, which is not too bad, but it can be a bit of a price off point for some people. I can understand that, especially if you're going to be using the Pokebank feature, which is pretty much, or the Pokebank connectivity, which is primarily the reason why people are getting Pokemon Home. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and boot it up here. Now I've been using the app for the last couple. I haven't had any real issue with anything so far. I did notice a couple of things right off the bat. When I was transferring Pokemon from Pokemon Bank using this move feature right here, it lets me transfer every Pokemon. However, as was stated by the Pokemon Company, only certain Pokemon can actually get into your game. So on the left here, or on the right here, we have my my Pokemon Sword save file with the PC. Also, everybody in Galarian Pokedex order, in case you care. Also, all shiny evolutions. All of these guys are from previous generations. Anyway, so while I was going through, you'll notice that any Pokemon that has this red sign on it, this red caution or stop sign on it, that means that you cannot put that Pokemon into Pokemon Sword. It is not possible. You simply can't do it because it's not available yet. Even though Articuno, Moltres will be available once the expansion pass comes out, right now they are locked out. This brings up something very interesting for me personally, in that if they are blocked now, but they can be unblocked with the expansion pass, I think you see where I'm getting at this. I'm positive by this point that they're going to do something like that for the entire roster of Pokemon eventually. Also, another quick thing to note here is that, as a lot of people know, there are several dozen moves that were, for some reason, cut from Generation 7 to 8. And a Pokemon that still possesses a move that was cut will have this yellow caution sign next to their model. In the case of the evolutions here, it is Trump Card, which is not available in Sword and Shield. And in the case of Milotic here, it is Hidden Power, which is also not available. And Braviary has Skydrop, which isn't available. And Stunfisk here has Mudsport, which is not available. You can still transfer these Pokemon into Pokemon Sword or Shield without any difficulty. You just will have to have that Pokemon forget the move that is not viable in-game. Next to that, I want to discuss one of the biggest things that I have noticed. I decided to test a theory of mine the other day. I actually have a modded 3DS. I went ahead and I homebrewed my 3DS. And with it, I added an application called PKSM, which is essentially PKHex, but instead of for being your computer, it is for your 3DS directly. So, given that I was curious about this, I decided to go ahead and test something to see if I could, well, I guess manipulate it to my liking. So, first thing I'm going to be clear about here, and I have no problems with saying this out loud, some of the shiny Pokemon that I have in my PC here are indeed hacked. I used PKSM to change them from their normal color scheme to being a shiny. None of the ones in this box are for, however, there is one in particular, being right here, my Celebi, which, if you guys know, Celebi is typically not available to be shiny. So I had actually had this particular Celebi, which is, by the way, an event Celebi, that is an event that was not a shiny one, but I made it shiny, and the game allowed me to bring it over without any hesitation. There was no way of me blocking access to putting this Celebi into the game. So, that being the case, I can confirm at this point, or at least my suspicions were confirmed, that the Pokemon Home app combined with Pokemon Bank does not have hack prevention. Along with that, I also went ahead and checked to see if I could do the same thing for Pokemon Forms. For example, Darmanitan has a Zen mode form that makes it a Fire Psychic type. So what I had done is I had hacked a Darmanitan in Pokemon Ultra Sun with PKSM into the Zen mode version of it. However, when it transferred over to this game, to Sword and Shield, it reverted back to its normal form. So at least that way, that form change alteration is not something that can be passed by the Pokemon Bank. The same thing goes for when I had attempted to transfer Kyurem forms, black and white, into Pokemon Bank, although that was already stopped right then and there. You were only able to change their forms, along with Necrozmas as well, into Duskmane or Dawn Wings, via the normal method, which is the Solarizer and Lunarizer for Necrozma forms, and of course the Gene Splicer tool for the Zekrom, or for the Kyurem forms. Now, the main test that I made was to alter movesets. At first I didn't do anything that was too drastic. I simply gave a Pokemon a move that, while they are normally able to learn, they would not be able to learn in the game in question. For example, this Alolan Persian here has access to Bubble Beam. However, this Alolan Persian is not from Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, or Pokemon Go for that matter. It is, in fact, from my Pokemon Ultra Sun copy, in which case Bubble Beam is not a move that it would normally be able to learn in that game. I do not own a copy of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee, so I had no way of putting Persian into those games with that move. However, technically Persian still can learn the move Bubble Beam, so I assumed perhaps, well, maybe the hack prevention system didn't get it past it because, well, the Pokemon is coded to be able to know the move, and I guess it just didn't, it may have confused it from being the origin game in which it had come from. However, this theory was completely thrown out of the water with the use of the Swords of Justice here. In particular, Virizion and Cobalion. Oh, and also, I will also show you my ridiculous Clang in a minute. But Virizion does know the Energy Ball and Air Slash. Air Slash is a TM, I believe. TM or TR. No, it's a TM. In Pokemon Sword, so it does make sense, you know, Virizion knowing Air Slash. However, I did not give this Virizion Air Slash inside of Pokemon Sword. I actually gave it to it in Pokemon Ultra Sun via PKSM, which means that it transferred over with an illegal move. But if you'll notice its other two moves, that's not the only problem here. It also transferred over with little at all issue while using the move Aura Sphere, which, yes, is a fighting type move that is a TM in Sword and Shield, but the major exception here that you cannot get around is the fact that this Virizion knows Psyshock, which is a move that Virizion, no matter which game it is from, is incapable of using. So, along with that, I tested the same hypothesis with a Cobalion here. Obviously, Iron Head and Sacred Sword and Zen Headbutt are possible moves. However, Thunderbolt is not. Cobalion only knows one electric move in the form of Volt Switch. It cannot learn a Thunderbolt, no matter what generation it comes from. So as I was looking through the various moves, I decided to get some other things I could have checked. For example, these two Necrozmas. These two Necrozmas. This Necrozma, which I'm going to transform into a Dawnwings Necrozma, possesses Moongeist Beam, despite the fact that it is a normal Necrozma and should not be able to learn that move. The same goes for this other Necrozma, which I would transform into Duskmane Necrozma, which for whatever reason has ability to have Shunsteel Strike, which is again another move that it should not be able to learn without access to its other form. I did something a bit similar with an Escavalier that I found, or that I traded over. I gave it access to close combat prior to entering into Sword and Shield. Now, granted, in Sword and Shield, it does know close combat, but as I mentioned, it does not know it prior to that. Next to that, we're going to go to the most ridiculous alteration that I had made to any of the Pokemon here, and that would be the alteration to my Klinklang. Many of you guys know who are fans of Generation 5 as I am, and kind of thought that Klinklang was going to be another version of Magnezone, and were horribly disappointed by the fact that it is not, because Klinklang has a absolutely atrocious moveset consisting primarily of steel moves, a normal move here and there, and a few electric moves. However, because I was feeling experimental, I decided to give Klinklang an almost entirely broken moveset. Now, granted, yes, it does know Gear Grind and Wild Charge naturally. However, it does not get Brick Break. The only fighting move it does get is Rock Smash in Generation 7 and 6 before this. And Earthquake is not even an option for any ground move for Klinklang. So, in all conclusion here, what I'm saying is that there is absolutely no hack protection for Pokemon in the game as long as the Pokemon's stats are correct. If the Pokemon is physically capable of being in the game, and great examples of ones are Salamence, Cubone, Toucannon, Granbull, Letty in here, all these Pokemon that have the red symbol on them as well as the yellow hazard symbol in the case of this Raticate, Alolan Exeggutor, a Lycanroc, and the Marowak here, which all have moves that are not possible to have in the other games. All of these Pokemon that do fall under that specific category will not be able to be transferred. However, giving a Pokemon an altered move is not something that they apparently wanted to spend some time fixing. It's very weird to me because this is a similar issue that they had before. This is something that... Now, granted, this does not have any repercussions unless you're talking about competitive Pokemon playing. A lot of the Pokemon that I created through PokeSM are Pokemon that did not have max IVs, were not shiny, did not have perfect EVs, and were not level 100 when I obtained them, nor were they even Pokemon that I legitimately caught and or bred. So this means that pretty much anybody with a modded 3DS can make any Pokemon combination they want from the previous 7 generations that is capable of entering into Sword and Shield, and open it in the game without any real issue or repercussions whatsoever. Another example would be this Lunala, which is a Lunala from Pokemon Sword. It is actually, or Pokemon Sun, or Sun and Moon. It's actually the Cosmog that you are able to evolve. And as you guys know, in Pokemon Sun and Moon, Cosmog and the Lunala line, respectively, are shiny locked. They are coded to not be shiny in the game. But with no hack prevention, you can get around that very easily with a hacking tool. Yeah. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about there. Also, here's another thing. This was my original test. A shiny event Zeraora, which is not allowed to be shiny normally, that carries the move Ice Punch, which again is another move that it shouldn't be able to know. Now that's actually going to go ahead and do it for what I'm talking about in that scenario. For the last bit of this video, I want to briefly touch upon the mobile version of Pokemon Home. So you will hopefully join me in just a moment, for I'm going to switch over to my phone to the Pokemon Home app and see about any features there, primarily the GTS. So I will catch you guys in just a second. And I am now over here on my cell phone. I do apologize for any audio quality issues that we may have here. My microphone, both on my headset and my phone itself, are not exactly the greatest. But over here in the top right corner, you can see I do have the Pokemon Home app. So we will go ahead and open that up. It does take a few seconds for it to open, but nothing too dramatic here. I also will tell you now that I do have the music disabled for this app. I do not, I really don't like having it on. It's just kind of noisy. But when we go into the app, you have a couple of different things. This little front window, this Your Room window, will show off a random one of the Pokemon that you have stored inside of your GTS, or of your, inside of Pokemon Home. You can select the Pokemon option in the top left or top right to show all of the Pokemon that you have actually sitting in your Pokemon Home boxes. Here you can see all the Pokemon that I currently have in here, including Pokemon that, as I mentioned earlier in the video, are not able to be obtained normally or able to be accessed in the proper game. But the main thing I wanted to discuss is this trade option. In particular, there are two methods of trade that I find interesting here. Room trade isn't really something that I care about. Friend trade, well, I don't have any friends. I don't really care about that unless any of you guys would like to trade with me. However, it's the Wonder Box and specifically the GTS that I want to talk about real quick. The GTS was something that was introduced in Generation 4, as many of you guys know, and as I'm sure all of you know, the GTS was quickly turned into an abused system where people would be asking for Pokemon that could either A, not be traded because they were mythical or event Pokemon, or asking for Pokemon that were physically impossible to obtain without hacking tools. For example, trying to ask for a level 1 Rayquaza in exchange for a Magikarp. And unfortunately, it does not appear that that situation was fucking fixed. So, in the app here, I'm going to go search for Pokemon. And in this case, I'm going to search for an Inteleon, because I do want to get a shiny one. I've been hunting for a while, but it's been very, very difficult for me to find one. I'm going to go with a female one, because that's just my preferred style, and you can obviously unclick include people searching for legendary and mythicals, which I will go ahead and do for the sake of argument here. But as you can see, even from that, they couldn't find anybody, which means everybody was asking for a legendary or a mythical Pokemon. If I re-click it, see here, you see Melmetal, Mew, Jirachi, Zacian. Zacian, yes, is tradable, so I won't really complain about that. However, Mew and Melmetal are not obtainable. You cannot trade those two Pokemon in Pokemon Home. So next I will check with Rillaboom, which is another shiny Pokemon that I want and I do not have yet. I'd rather take it from somebody else than spend the time to do it myself. And you can see here, Zamazenta, Mewtwo, Poipole, which isn't even attainable in the game, Zeraora, which is an event-only Pokemon, Meltan, Reshiram, which can work, Melmetal again, Melmetal, Celebi, Mewtwo, Zacian, Melmetal again, Zeraora, Zacian, Zamazenta, Lunala, Dialga, which you can't even obtain in the game, and Meltan once again for another shiny one, Scrolling any further down, we have Jirachi as well. Another Zeraora. Mew and another Zeraora. And there. These are all mythical Pokemon that you cannot obtain in the games through GTS. So, apparently they are using the exact same format as they did for the previous times they've used GTS, which is really frustrating because I have a completed living Pokedex. That's not the issue here. The issue is I want certain Pokemon to be shiny and don't want to spend 30 years trying to hunt it down myself. But, unfortunately, Pokemon Company did not make it easier for us to do so. So, that's going to kind of go ahead and do it for the video, though, guys. I wanted to just judge about what I feel are some of the issues and shortcomings of Pokemon Home, but can also be benefits for certain people, such as myself. And I want to know what you guys think about this as well. Do you guys really, really like Pokemon Home? Do you hate the fact that it has to be a premium service, and then if you want to transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Bank after the 1 month free trial expires, you have to pay another $5, plus you have to pay for Nintendo Switch Online, plus you have to pay for Pokemon Home. Then the expansion pass comes out. It's a huge mess, but frankly, as a Pokemon fan, I couldn't really care less. But I want to know what your guys' opinions are, so let me know in the comment section down below, and thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any suggestions for future content, please leave your suggestions in the comment section down below, or on my Twitter page, @SoDiarist. Link will be in the description, and until next time, this has been ZDS, making it fun one video at a time, and I will see you guys in the next video.